Let's start to use the AI to record these meetings and see what type of breakdown it gives us afterwards. It might make it really easy to uh, what is it called? To summarize the entire meeting, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe even give specific examples, but let's start to do that to see if it helps us over time, especially with training people in the future. That'd be dope. All right, let's get started. Uh,
Can you hit
well,
record?
it says recording, right? Top right. Do you
It
guys see
told
that?
it told me it was recording. Yeah, it's recording.
Cool. Perfect. What's up? What's up, Kate? What's up, Holly, Francia, Memo? All right, let's get into it. If you guys have any deals, throw them in. I'll check them out. If not, you're gonna watch me go through some deal flows, which one of them uh, I'll share with you guys. I think it's a deal. I think I found a deal over the weekend. Um, well, I hope it's a deal because I drove all the way to Ramona to go look at it. So, um, on a Sunday. So we'll see. All right, so let's get into it. Again, if you guys remember, all my stuff's right here under this name Voltaire Lepis. So I just go to contacts, view, manage contacts, and then I type in Voltaire Lepis investment, and that's where they're all at. I'm gonna go and just do some maintenance real quick because it's been a while. So whenever you create like some searches for yourself, you name it, Voltaire Lepis investments, and then you create like these searches down here, and I want to see if they're still active because they only allow you to do like an active search up to like a certain time. You have to put in expiration. And what I noticed recently was when I jump in, I don't see a bunch of properties. So I'm like, okay, something's off. Either there just isn't a lot of inventory popping up or um, they're expired. So now that I'm doing some maintenance, I come down here and it says off on a few. So I'm missing some properties. So my hunch was right. So now I got to go in and I got to update my search to make sure that there's, I'm getting the properties I want to see. Let me see. It's been a minute, so bear with me. I'm clicking buttons. Okay, that's not it. If you guys know, by the way, just let me know, and then I could do it faster. Okay, here we go. Look at fourplexes. I'm not getting any. South Park. I'm not getting any. And then the agent recommended ones I'm not getting. So I'm gonna go to fourplexes first. I'm gonna turn this on. I'm gonna hit Collab Center. And if you see here, I haven't visited this in the last 30 days because it's been expired. And then, well, it says the last. Oh, I guess this one is old. Let me see. Let me turn on options. Fourplexes. So this is all fourplexes. So this is when I was searching these 3 years back in 2020. So again, what I'm doing now is um, I'm extending this search. So maybe, let me see here, 12 months. I can't do it for just 12 months at a time. So I'm gonna do that. And then let me see this South Park one. That might have been an old one. Agent recommended. That's an old one. So okay, so now let me go back to the search. So we're gonna go over some deals. Let's see what I found. I'm gonna show you the deal that I found over the weekend that I think my original thought was I'm gonna buy it, make some money, but then I thought about it some more. It's like I already own too much property, so I might just sell it to a client. All right, so what's new? There's a duplex in Manzanita. It's overpriced. How do I know? Because I do 1.35 million divided by two. Um, and that just tells me that each unit is $675,000 a unit. And there's no way anyone's making money on $675,000 a unit. Now, with that being said, and by the way, in the hood, right, 92105, as I look closer, it looks like this is like an Azalea Park. But the crazy part is the rents. I don't know. It says actual rents, so this is 7,150 a month, which doesn't sound right. 4,100 for a three bedroom and 3,000 for a two bedroom. it sounds way overpriced as far as rents. So this is something for you guys to kind of keep an eye out because if your client ever buys, let's say this property and they're expecting $7,150 a month in rent, um, property's nice and all, but um, what happens after these tenants move? Is the market still going to produce $7,150 a month in rent? I would say no. As of today, they might have some tenants that signed a year ago or 18 months ago when the market was better. So you just got to be careful that tenants may not renew at the price that you think they're going to renew at. Does that make sense? Even at this price, it's still overpriced because different rules of thumb tell me it is. So the first rule of thumb is price per unit. 1.350 divided by 2, that's 675,000. The second one, I'm just going to run for you guys just real quick so you guys get a reminder of another rule of thumb. If you guys can see my calculator, yeah? Okay, perfect. So the other rule of thumb, remember, is just the gross rents. So I'm taking 3,000 for one unit plus 4,150 for the other. That's 7,150 a month times 12. That's 85,800, which they had it accurately right here. Which sometimes it's wrong. That's why I like to just do the math myself. Then I'm gonna take the list price, 1.35 million divided by 85,800. And if this number is above uh, a 13, it's too expensive. If it's below an 11 or 11 or below, then I definitely need to look at it as a deal. And the number's a 15.7. So again, it's above a 13, so it's definitely too expensive. The only way that this is a deal if this GRM, this number, gross rent multiplier, is closer to an 11, 11 and a half, 10 and a half, somewhere in that range. But it's overpriced. So that's two quick rules of thumb. We determined that's too much. The next one's on painting cost. So this is like a one bedroom condo in the hood for 350. It's overpriced. So and I know that because we just sold one for 380, I think, and it was a two bedroom remodeled condo. So not a good deal. Um, okay. So that's the new matches. I have some fourplex matches. Let's just go in here real quick and see what we got as far as fourplexes. Um, I'm looking at any new, so I'm gonna look at fourplexes. So there's fourplexes, four units in IB, and it's right here, close to the water. Um, and if you see here, they already did the math for us on projected rent, and that's 15.32. Um, in IB, close to the water, that's not bad, but those are projected rents, not actual rents. So that means someone has to go in here and like raise the rents and do all that in order to get the rents up. Plus, it's not like right by the beach; it's by this bay area, and it's not as desirable. And then you do price per unit, right? So it's like, okay, you have 1.850 divided by four units equals $462,000 a door. Is just too expensive, even if the unit mix is good. This is a good unit mix. Three two bedrooms and a three bedroom, two bath, but it's too expensive. Nothing to see there. The next one is on Nile Street, North Park, four units for 2 million. So easy numbers. 2 million divided by four, that's $500,000 a door. And three of them are one bedrooms. It's too expensive. Doesn't seem like a good deal. And then Nile Street is probably like one of the least desirable streets, I would say, like that and Boundary and stuff. It's not great compared to the rest of North Park, but still North Park. And it looks like this is maybe some newer stuff. Um, that looks newer for sure. Wonder what this is. I don't know if they're it's nice, newly built. Let's look at the rents real quick just so you kind of get an idea. It's saying that the rents are, I guess, they're all vacant, so there's no actual rents, all projected rents, but they're projecting a 15 GRM with which is 15 GRM in North Park is decent. It's not overpriced. It's a good price, especially for new construction, but I don't really see it being a great deal. Again, a lot of them are small units. Um, 21st Street, same thing, $500,000 per door for something in Golden Hill that was remodeled, but it's an older property. It's just too expensive. That's $500,000 a door. You really can't make money with that. This is a 17 GRM if you see here. So, Golden Hill, I would say right now is somewhere 15, 16 GRM on the high end, just like North Park is, and 17 is above that. Um, 15th Street, South San Diego, 4 units for 1.675. That's about $420,000 a door. And the unit mix sucks. You have two studios and two bedrooms. South San Diego by Beach. It might be they're all remodeled or maybe even newly built, renovated. So it says renovated. I would say it's not a great deal. Somebody might buy it just to put some, store their money in there, but it's not a great deal.
What do you think the
Um,
GRM would have to be in that area to make it make sense?
Good question. I would say that GRM right here for it to like make sense for who, Memo? To live in and buy as your first investment or for an investor?
Oh shit. Um, I guess for like a yeah, like a
Okay.
pr- primary residence buyer that would live in a 2 unit, I guess in one of the 2 bedrooms and rent the other three.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because when I'm looking at these deals, by the way, guys, it's like for the most part, I'm looking at it from an investor's eye, like, okay, like how can we make some money? So actually, that's a good question. So I'm going to share with you the numbers on this one, and then
thanks.
we could compare it to the deal that I told you that I found that I drove on Sunday. So I'll show you that deal. And then that we kind of get an idea of where my mind's at. Is that cool?
Sounds dope.
Okay. So let's look at first thing to note is there's no actual rents. They're just projected rents. Now, it's a pro and con. Pro is because you got to deal with no tenants. Con is that you got to go find tenants. So the studios they have them projected at 1,800 bucks. I'm cool with that. I don't think they're overpricing those. The two bedroom, one baths, 2,950. That seems rich. That seems a little bit high compared to today's market. And today's market, I feel, is we're losing tenants. Um, Prices aren't that great right now for tenants, but it looks like they did a good job. We flipped to the photos. It looks like they all have one, two, three, four, five, six. Huh. So six little yards. So they might be selling this duplex together, and this is like a separate one. I'm not sure. Let me see. Renovated turnkey, 4 unit multifamily. This property comprises of two spacious two-bedroom, one baths, and two well-designed unit studios. Custom cat. Let me see if it says anything about the next door neighbor. No, it doesn't. But what I would say is I would project these rents, two-bedroom, one bath, with a yard, brand new. I would say it's closer to like 2,500 right now. So that's the numbers I'm gonna roll with. So I'm gonna do 2,500 times two plus 3,600 for the two studios. So that's 8,600 bucks a month times 12. So that's 103,200, right? That's gross annual income, also known as GSI, gross scheduled income. That's what commercial uh, agents or investors would say. So 103,200. So the first thing is I'm looking at the GRM, gross rent multiplier factor, and that's going to come out to be a 16.2. So 16.2 in this area, it's overpriced. I would say, it's closer to 14, right? So that's the first thing to look at. The next thing to look at, um, Memo, is pretend that you're buying it cash. If you bought this cash or your cash buyer bought it cash, then they would want to know what return on investment they would earn. So I'm going to do the GSI minus 40%. That's the expense ratio. And expenses are basically taxes, insurance, and maintenance. It doesn't include your monthly payment, okay? Just taxes, insurance, and then maintenance, toilets, and trash and things like that, okay? So I'm going to subtract 40%. So this is how much your net operating income is, all right, Guillermo? So this is every year you would get 61,000 if you bought it cash. So that's 5,000 a month in your pocket. That's how it works. Now I'm going to divide this number by the purchase price, and it's going to give me cap rate. So only going to earn 3.6% on my money, almost 3.7%. Do you see that memo? So
Yep.
if I buy this, I'm going to earn 3.7% on $1.67 million. I can make more money uh, investing it somewhere else, right? I could loan somebody 1.675 million and charge them, whatever, 8%, 6%, 10%. Like I could make more money than buying this property with that money. Now, I don't get the benefits of cost segregation, bonus depreciation, write-offs and things like that, or future appreciation, right? I don't get those benefits. But if I'm looking at it straight cash flow, I'll make more money somewhere else than 3.7%. Does that make sense? Now, the last thing I'm gonna do is something that you guys could do is I'm gonna do something like this. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT, um, if I buy a fourplex that produces, no, that costs, 1,675,000, and I because I'm gonna compare it to the other one memo. Um I'm gonna do similar numbers, okay? And I put down 35% and I get a loan for the difference at 7% interest, 30-year amortization, 1.2% taxes. And in this case, I think the insurance, I'm doing about 750 per unit per insurance right now. So that's about $3,000 a year in insurance. Insurance. How much is my monthly payment? So this is for an investor to come in with 35% down on this property. This is how much um the total monthly payment. $9,100 after putting 35% down. Um, which is right here, 35% down, $500,000. So almost 600,000 down. And my monthly payment is 9,100. And how much was the total monthly payments memo?
I think we said like 8,000 something.
Yeah, the rent. Yep. $8,600 right here. You see it?
Yeah.
8,600. So if I buy this thing and put $600,000
Crazy.
down, I'm gonna be losing money because my payment's 9,200 minus that. So I'm losing 600, not including, this doesn't include maintenance. Remember, okay? So now let's look at the other deal. I'll fast forward the other deal, okay? Just so you kind of get an idea of what caught my eye. I'm gonna go to industrial because that's where I found it, and I'm gonna go to list date because it was listed a few days ago. Let me see here. It's not popping up. Okay, let me go look for it because it's not popping up. Under list date, let me see here. Here we go. It was listed under commercial, industrial, okay? So this is what caught my attention last week, guys. I looked at this thing and I'm like, hmm. First thing I noticed, I'll walk you through it. I noticed the price, 1.3 million. I noticed the number of units, okay, 5. And then the next thing I noticed was this number. What's this number, guys? Anyone? This is what really put a smile on my face.
That's what, price per square foot of improvements?
Yeah, of the total
Okay,
buildings. Why did this put a smile on my face? Can anyone tell me? 179.
obviously a great deal. I don't know, what's the norm
It's
for,
less than half than what the current price per square foot is. Ballpark.
There we go. Okay, I like it. So if I was to build this, guys, right now, um, how much would it cost me to build a construction right now, building
350 a square foot. Ballpark.
350 a square foot? Yeah. $300 a square foot on the low end, right? If we find like someone's deal to build it for me or something,
My dad.
Yeah, exactly. Pay them in like 12 packs of beer, every day at 5 p.m. just show up with some beer and some wings. But what I would say is this number excited me because I'm like, dude, I'm buying it at this price for less than construction costs. Does that make sense? Because if I was to build this, like, let's say it was just a piece of land and I was to build the same construction right now, it would cost me 300 bucks a square foot or 350. But right now they're only asking $179 a square foot. So, so that's one rule of thumb. Okay. So by the way, I'm just gonna run this for you guys real quick. Let me see if I could find the total square foot on here. Um, I cannot. Hold on, let me see if I open up the tax record real quick, show you guys. And I want to show you guys why this is exciting. Um, see right here it says it sits like on 3/4 of an acre, but it doesn't have the square footage, okay? So the square footage I found out because I made some calls basically. Oh, here we go. Right here it says 7,200. But after talking to the agent and I ran some math and this and that, I added it up. So I'm just gonna add it up in front of you guys real quick. Um, 2350 plus 1,080 plus 1,250. These are all the spaces, how big they are, plus 1,250. So 8,063. So she might even be off on her numbers, right? But these are the numbers I have after speaking to her. So if I do the list price divided by 8,063, that's just 160 bucks a square foot. If I was to build the same thing right now, guys, and I take a low number of 300, right? Because I got the homie hookup and I want to build an 8,000 square foot building, I'm paying 2.4 million, double what they're asking for. So it almost makes like I'm like, okay, I'll buy it for 1.3. And number one, I'm buying it for less than replacement cost. Number two, I'm picking up the land for free. I'm not paying for the dirt. Does that make sense? Okay. Then I do another thing. I do 1.3 million divided by five. That's $260,000 a door. So 260 a door, not as exciting because I could go and buy a fourplex for, well, actually I can buy we just saw the prices on fourplex. I guess maybe I can't buy a fourplex for 260 a door because that'll make it $1 million. And there's no fourplexes for $1 million right now. But it's not as, I guess, sexy as $160 a square foot to purchase this thing. Now, the next thing is I want you guys to look at is what type of building is this? It's like, okay, couple businesses. So we have like a glass store, a auto repair mechanic. We have a pool company that looks like they lease there. Um, and like, what type of maintenance am I gonna have on here? Am I gonna have like renters calling me saying, "Hey, Voltaire, you got to fix the toilet, or you got to fix the flooring, or you got to fix the roof"? Am I gonna have those type of problems? Probably not. Like these are like industrial, like little warehouses. Um, and so I'm not gonna have those type of issues, right? Like, look, and no one's gonna call me and say, "Hey, fix the flooring," right? It's like it's a garage. you know? So now I want to get an idea of the total rents for each space. Look at this, just like an open space, high ceilings. It's just a mechanic could work out of there, a carpenter could work out of there, electrician, a plumber, whatever. Okay. Now let's look at the total rents for each unit. Okay. So the total rents for each unit, um, just to give you an idea, commercial is a little bit different. So you want to use price per square foot. So what did I do on Friday or on Sunday when I drove this property? Well, I noticed that across the street there was another building for rent. I called them and asked them how much they're asking for. They're asking $2 a square foot. That's kind of how you price it in commercial, per square foot rent. So this guy was asking $2 a square foot. Some other people were asking like a buck 75 a square foot, all around, right? So I said, well, on the low end, let's just pretend that I'll charge less, $1.50 a square foot for these spaces. So I'm gonna do $1.50 times the total square foot of the buildings, right, guys? So Memo, this is ballpark what the monthly rents are. Do you see it?
Clutch, yeah.
About 12,000 a month. Now let's go back to ChatGPT and say, okay, let's take the same scenario except purchase price is 1.3 million. 35% down, taxes, insurance, all that, right? So now it's saying that my payment's 7,200 bucks a month, right? So this is the rent minus 7,200. So there goes the difference, Memo, is 4,900 bucks. Does that make sense? Profit. Where buying those units, I'd be negative. How much was it? 600 bucks. Does that make sense?
The only question that's kind of like jumping at me is that this is commercial and the
Hmm.
other one's residential. So
Yeah.
is this more normal in like a commercial setting when you're looking at properties that like that it's that good of a deal? Like it sounds
Good
like
question.
how does
Yeah.
that, you know?
No. Good question. And the answer is this isn't normal. It
Yeah.
isn't, because if it was, it's like, you know, this is all I'm doing. But I own stuff like this. I own a property just like this, bigger, but just like this, like a bunch of like beat up old buildings, commercial industrial buildings, and the tenants, mechanics, body shop painters, carpenters, that's their livelihood. They pay every single month on time. Does that make sense? Because they have their customers and they don't call and ask for repairs or nothing. And that property is I've showcased it on Coffee and Cash before, maybe like a couple years ago. And the rents are great. It's just like this, like cash flow machine. So to answer your question, it's not uh it's not normal. And that's why I drove up to Ramona on Sunday after church to go look at it because I'm like, dude, this seems really good. So commercial deals aren't like this. Like commercial deals are gonna look like what you just saw because you just saw a fourplex. So fiveplexes look pretty much the same, sixplexes about the same. Same thing with retail commercial. So that's why I make it a point. Like these 58 properties right here, right? This is number 53 out of 58. This is what we look at every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, right? I look at properties like this. Like this is a commercial building on University Avenue, and it's like 3 million bucks, and it's a big warehouse, but it doesn't have the same numbers, not even close to what we just looked at. Does that make sense? Like right here, like it monthly rent is 15,000 a month, 14,900, but it's worth 3 million. It's worth almost three times as much, about two and a half times as much. So it's not that great of a deal for the same amount of rent almost. The one we just looked at is 12,000 a month. This one's 15,000 a month. But that's the whole point is you want to be looking at commercial properties, you want to be looking at residential properties, and that way you find a property. And like the one that I just found that I just went over, my first thought is, hey, I want to cash flow, 4,000, 5,000 a month. So I want to buy it. But then my next thought was, I have so much property already. It's like I'm just gonna sell it to one of my clients, make a 3% commission, and everyone's happy. Does that make sense? So you could go either way, um, but that's kind of how you appraise those other properties. Okay. Um, what do you guys? Does anyone have a property you want me to look at? Before I move on, you just type it in the chat, right, or unmute yourself and let me know. While we're at it, I'm gonna be looking at this new match right here on this commercial multifamily and see what popped up. Um, so this is like it's been on market 102 days, but they just reduced the price. That's why it popped up as new, back on market as well. Looks like it went into escrow. This is 28 units. And on paper, you look at it and you're like, wow, 28 units in downtown for 6.2. This is a great deal. $215,000 a door. On paper, it looks like a good deal. But then you read closer into remarks and it says that it only sits on a 5,000 square foot lot, so a small little lot. And it says that it's SRO, single room occupancy. So what does that mean? That means that people are renting uh, basically bedrooms. So it's almost like a hotel, but they're sharing bathrooms as well. So it looks like they have 12 bathrooms, 28 rooms or residents, and so they're not actual units. Why don't I think this is a good deal? Well, because then you would have to go in here and like manage this place. This is like an operation. It's almost like running a hotel or Airbnb or whatever. It's like you're gonna have to go in there and like settle disputes because they probably only have like one or two or three kitchens maybe between 28 residents, and then someone took something from the fridge and blah blah blah. Like you're dealing with problems. So for 6.2 million, I don't want to deal with those problems. Also, this is another one, guys. Um, Total square foot of improvement. So let's do the math real quick. 6.2 million asking price divided by 5,150 square feet of improvements. Look at how much you're paying per square foot. $1,203 a square foot. So this isn't even close to being a deal. Does that make sense? Um, by the way, you might get somebody like the broker on this deal or somebody pitching you a property like this and saying, well, price per square foot doesn't matter and price per unit doesn't matter. And, two shared kitchens doesn't matter because each resident is coming off some type of, you know, issue or is in a program where they're paying per bed, you know, uh, $1,000 per bed, and we have, two bedrooms in each room, so that's $2,000 per room. So there's like different types of things like that, but just know if your client ever buys a property like that, you're you're buying a business. It's not just like a piece of real estate. Does that make sense? So I don't like that deal. Let me look at the four changes in the multifamily space. So we already saw that one.
Kate put one in the chat earlier.
Oh, we have one?
She said this one came on the market today in Mission Hills, 3144 Dove Street.
3144 Dove. All right. Who put this in?
Kate.
Kate. All right, Kate. Cool. Oh, okay. So the first thing I noticed is 1.5 million. Dove Street, Mission Hills. Let's look at the map. Okay, it's off of Reynard. Reynard is one of my least favorite streets in Mission Hills, but this is off of it, so it's I don't know exactly how it looks, but first thing to notice is like I want to do a price per square foot calculation because at 1.5 million, I'm noticing that it's a huge house, 2,700 square feet for that price. That sounds pretty good. So I'm doing a price per square foot calculation divided by 2,705 square feet. That's 554 a square foot. So right off the top, I'm like 554 square foot in Mission Hills. That's a deal. Like my first kind of rule of thumb metrics is it's a good deal. Why? Because most stuff in this neighborhood probably sells for $1,000, maybe 800 on the low end, maybe. But let's look more into it. So now I'm starting to think there's an issue because it's so low, 554 square foot. Let me look at the photos, see if it's a huge fixture or what's the problem. Doesn't look like it. Looks really nice. Um, looks like it was remodeled at some point in time and looks clean, airy. There's a lot of light, big balcony. Um, not the newest remodel, but it's clean. Um, okay, this is a little bit older. You have some old lighting, old countertops, bathrooms. Um, okay, this looks kind of weird. Maybe it's like a studio or something, or maybe the bottom portion of the house, which may or may not be permitted. Sometimes you get like underneath part sections of the house like this, and it might not be high ceilings, and then you kind of see you see the foundation wall right here. This looks like the foundation wall from the back, so it's kind of showing me that it was probably a basement at some point in time, and then the steps leading down shows me that too. So it's like the first thing is like, okay, well, I got to confirm the square footage, make sure that it's all legal and there's no issues. And then you have this. So this is like ugly, right? So it's like, okay, maybe someone has to go in there and do some landscaping, which is fine because the price still looks good, right? Um, so again, if you guys haven't been on my Tuesday calls, I just talk out loud so you guys kind of hear my thought process when I look at deals. All right, so now let me read it. Experience quintessential San Diego living room, Hard Mission Hills, Dove Street opportunity to own a truly distinctive Spanish style residence, 70 years in the same family. The trust sale presents the perfect chance to blah, blah, blah. A highlight of the home, expansive 625 square foot dining family room, boasting sweeping views. The main level also includes a charming primary bedroom suite with abundant closet space, complemented by hardwood floors, etc. A truly special Mission Hills home. Okay. Confidential. This is a trust sale sold as is. Listing will be live on November 25th and be shown by appointment. Counting records showed smaller square footage. See, that's and room count. Information is listing appraisal 2024. Downstairs bathroom and additions permits unknown. So it's exactly what I just mentioned, right? It's like, to me, it's obvious just because I've looked at thousands of homes in my career, but to the normal person, maybe not. So look at on tax record, it shows that 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 1992 square feet. Now, this 1992 square feet, it's still not bad, but go look at the pricing. And then the lot size is kind of small, I would say, for that pocket, but still decent. But let's do 1992 square feet now. So let's take out the calculator. 1499 divided by 1992 square feet. Now it's $752 a square foot. So like I mentioned earlier, neighborhoods maybe about 1,000 down to as low as maybe 800. So there's still some room here, but now it's not like a great deal at 500 and some dollars a square foot. In order to make it a deal, potentially, guys, it's like we have to, well, first, let me do this. Let me run some comps, okay, in front of you guys real quick, because this is what I normally do. If I think it's a deal, I start running comps, which right here, it's not looking like a great deal. So, because it's unpermitted, and you saw that funky space underneath, and it's next to my least favorite street in Mission Hills, but it still might be good for somebody, for a client. Might not be a steal, but it might be decent enough to buy, right? And make it your own and do all that. Okay, so when I do comps, I start from top to bottom. So mapping, that's at the top, and then detached, and then County of San Diego, and then active pending solds, and then I go back 6 months usually, and then I make my way towards the bottom. So I start from top all the way to bottom. That's how I run comps. And then bedrooms. Again, on tax record, it shows it as a 2 bedroom, but it shows it as 1,900 square feet, 1922. So I'm just gonna do, for this case, I'm gonna do 300 below and 300 above. So I'm gonna do 1,600 square feet and then 2,200 square feet ballpark. So there's 9 comps between that square footage. I'm gonna hit search, and I have 1 active, 1 pending, and then 7 sold. So I'm just gonna do a blanket, check all of them, reports, summary, CMA summary, and I see 7 sold, and the average price is 856. So 856, and hold on, which one are we looking at? There's 1 active, 5,000 square foot lot, 1972 square feet, 86 days on the market, and at 798 a square foot. Ours is 752 a square foot, and this one hasn't sold. So this is a big indication as to maybe it's not a great deal. But with that being said, average is 856 a square foot. That's what stuff is selling for. And then if you really want to get technical, you go through every comp and then you just kind of compare. Like this is a beautiful home and it sold for 1,036 a square foot. Can you get yours to that level? Probably, yeah. You can. How much is it going to cost you? That's a different question. See, this one's 918 bucks a square foot. Really nice, remodeled. This one's has a really good feel to it, just from the photos of the backyard. Um, Front isn't that nice, but the backyard is really nice. And this one's 945 a square foot. And then even this one at 822 a square foot, it looks like a really nice place. Um, Peekaboo views from the outside is not that great, but it has some charm in some ways, right? So they did a good job with the photography. Looks kind of funky once you start looking at it. And then this one's under 700 bucks a square foot. So like this one could have been a good deal for somebody. If you look at it, Kate, it's like they start off at almost 1.8 and they just kept dropping the price. Then 1 point almost 6 and then they sold it for 1.45. And this is a good price, under 700 bucks a square foot. You know, was it funky? Maybe, but the street looks clean. It looks like it's at a cul-de-sac, but then there's multi-levels. Some people don't like that. And then their photos aren't that great. It's just like a bunch of photos. But it looks decent, you know. But it's sold for under 700 bucks a square foot. So this is one of those properties that looks like a deal, Kate, but then you could get in trouble, if you buy it strictly for investment. If you're living in it, yeah, just make sure that the foundation's good and underneath that there isn't no issues with unpermitted stuff, illegal stuff or violations. This one's sold for 752. So no, it looks like it's not that great of a deal. And let's look at this one real quick. This is an active comp, 1.575 million. And you would think this one in the 700s would kind of sell fast, but maybe the type of remodel that they did for this area isn't the greatest. Um, and this one, they can't sell it for 750 some dollars a square foot. And it's right around the corner, right on the other side of Reynard. Um, Kate, any questions, comments about that breakdown?
No, I get it. I have a client that wants to Airbnb it
See? Yeah,
and saw the
yeah,
square footage
yeah.
and was like, "Oh, this is good for this for the square footage." And then I pointed out there's unpermitted space I mean, it looks pretty from the pictures, but we haven't walked into it yet.
Yeah, and it could be a good deal, especially if they're not gonna live there, they're just gonna do Airbnbs and you know, and obviously with Airbnbs, from what I know of it, the more square footage you have and more bedrooms, the more you could charge. So as long as there's no issues with the city and you're able to keep
Mhm.
like some of the space, then it might make sense for that purpose. Um, but yeah, it's obviously square footage is less. And yeah,
Well, Tara, so what
go
is
ahead.
it? What number is it that you think it's worth? Like as it is, everything that you mentioned, included.
Good question. I think so we do this real quick. I go back here, and if I was doing like some comps, I would say, well, what could it be worth? And if it could be worth 856.61, and I multiply by 900 and 1922, was that it? Square feet? Anyone remember? I could go back. Let me see. I gotta go back here. 1992 square feet.
Sorry,
So
it's
19,
1992 square feet.
perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's zone with 2 bedrooms, 1 bath.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so 2 bedroom, 1 bath. So I think the value could be about 1.7, but what do you have to do to get to that 1.7? You definitely can't, have a 2 bedroom, 1 bath being worth 1.7. I think you would have to turn it into a 3.2, 3.3 really. So how much is that going to cost? I would say it's going to cost brand new floor plan, just basically redo everything. It's going to cost in that neighborhood, it's going to run you at least, I would say, $150 a square foot. So now we got to figure out that 150 a square foot times 1992. So that's 300K. So then you subtract 300K um, from the potential value of 1,706,000. Now you're at 1.4 million. And then from there, Guillermo, you want to, whether you're going to live in here or you're going to flip it, you need to build in, you know, um, equity for yourself, sweat equity. Um, so how much equity would it take for you to sit with the city of San Diego for, you know, I would just round it to about 18 months with the city for you to, how much is that worth to you? 18 months with the city, contractors, all this stuff, dealing with all that. You would have to, I mean, in my opinion, you would have to want to at least profit 300,000 in sweat equity for that. But that's a lot of focus. Your focus is going from wherever you're making money to this, right? So even if you go on the low end and say, well, I'm okay with waiting all that time, 12 to 18 months with the city and contractors and all that for 200,000. Okay, cool. So then you would have to buy it for somewhere in that range of 1.2 million. Um, and this doesn't include any holding costs. This is just pretend you bought it cash or you're gonna live in it, and might be worth it to buy it for 1.2, fix it up, and move into it. Um, which is their asking price is 1.5. So that 300,000, that's the difference on the sweat equity or whatnot. So yeah, I would say somewhere in that range, Guillermo. Um, on the high end, maybe 1.3, right? If you want to make a little bit less money, but it looks like it definitely has some potential. And then now the other thing, Kate and Guillermo, is this 27, I mean, this is actual square footage that's there, an extra 800 square feet, 700 square feet. So the other question is, well, what is it going to take for me to get this permitted? Because if you could permit the extra 2,700 square feet, I mean, the extra 700 square feet, then all of a sudden that could be like free money. So let's say all it takes, guys, is just like a couple permits with the city. You wait some time, 6 to 12 months, and you actually get that 700 square foot for free. It's going to cost you 10,000 for your architect, 10,000 for permitting. So you're for 20,000, let's say you could gain an extra $700. I mean, 700 square feet, and those 700 square feet is going to be, you know, is since it's a bigger property, it'll trade for less. So let's pretend that it's trading for 750 a square foot, or let's go low. Let's say 650 a square foot. then you just made an extra 455,000 by permitting, by spending 20 grand in 6 to 12 months permitting that extra 700 square footage. So that's another way to look at it, guys, is you could try to get that permitted and make money that way since the square footage is already there. Cool. Um, I think we're gonna end it here. A couple reminders I would say is make sure you look at, like, again, in my career, the way I made money for clients was I was on the MLS every day, looking for deals every day, breaking them down this way. And back then I was just doing residential houses. And then once I started doing commercial, then, it just opened up the potential to find a deal even more. So on that Ramona deal, I'm going to sell it to one of my clients. That's the plan. Make 3% commission on 1.3 million. Um, I made my client money. I made myself some money. So that's kind of what you want to do. And then we'll see each other. We have Coffee and Cash obviously next month on the 10th. And then we also have on the 10th a buddy of mine who came last year, if you guys remember him, Chris Benjamin. He's going to be coming and hosting our monthly meetup here at the office. He's going to be talking about using social media next year, 2026, all the changes and how he gets clients from it. So I will see you guys then. Peace. Enjoy.